table, right? It's going to be like that. We have to know they have columns. They name it fields. They have records. That's the things they store. Setting up a database is like you're getting a wardrobe at home. Wardrobe, right? Wardrobe at home. When you first get a wardrobe at home, probably you will have to place it somewhere else, and then you have to divide it into different sections according to the members in your family. That may be one section for you, one section for your mother, one section for your father, one section for your brother. It's probably like that, right? In database term, that would be called files, right? So this table is actually like a section in the wardrobe, right? After we have the section, you have a section, you may further divide it into different, area. Maybe one area you use it to store your socks or shoes. One area you use it to store your clothing for outdoors. One area clothing for indoors. That would be like columns in database. And finally, you put your things in, right? Maybe you have 2 socks, 2 pair of socks, 1 clothing outdoors, 2 clothing indoors. That would be the records, the real things you put in. Right? So access and wardrobe that we have basically looks very similar. However, database table have one feature that you have to know, which is different from spreadsheet. Is the table always have only one theme? Only one theme, right? If this table is about employee, that's about employee. If you have employee dependent, like employee sons, employee wife, things like that, you have to use a separate table for it. But for Excel, they can combine by adding a few columns into one table, right? That's something you have to know. Access or whatever database, they always have one table, one theme. Another thing we have to know is all those tables must have a PK, alright? Primary key. They must have a primary key. Primary key is actually a column help you to search for a record easily and uniquely, right? For example, if I want to know you, I call your student ID because even though 2 students have the same name, they definitely will have a different student ID, right? Same as our Hong Kong ID card, right? So remember, every table in your database must have a primary key. Right? And in this section here, this one will be open book tested and exam tutorial. This is the page we have to pay particular attention to when we review. Page 60, 61, and 62. We have to be rather familiar with that. When I say familiar, it's not that we have to recite it, rather we have to know how to use it, because we'll be asked for some scenario case like, for example, now I have to store something that can be very long, very short, they are textual information. What particular data type would you suggest we using? Question may be set this way. Right? If that's the case, you know we have to go for memo. Reason because memo can extend up to 65,000 characters long, and in modern database like Access 2010, it actually extends up to 4 GB characters. Right? Well, if you have to store something that have a limit on the characters below 255, we then can consider using text. Right? Those are the things that what we call scenario. Without understanding the table description, you probably will not be able to answer a question like that, so we have to be very mindful of that. Apart from text information that we can put in data columns, remember we can also put number, right? In numbers, if you have small number, you can consider using byte, because that will start from 0 to 255. If you know your number is going to be integer all the way through, you can consider using small ordinary integer or long integer to store it. Right? Long integer is actually very large, starting from 21 billion minus to 21 billion positive. Right? If you know you're going to be storing decimal, you can consider using single to show 7 significant figures, or double to show 15 of them. Or if you doesn't specify, that would be normal decimal. You can also use your column to store, in database table to store time, day, currency, and also sometimes you need a number as a primary key, right? You can also make one and let computer control it, and that would be auto number. If you set some column into auto number, remember, later you cannot change, right? Because Access takes control of it, and it will give numbers when you get a record in. And if you want to ensure everything you type will be correct, because sometimes you request people to type yes, they don't type it correctly, you may consider using yes, no, because that will be a tick or no tick there. We're going to experience that very soon as well. Right? Remember, every database table like that, if you put the things in, specifying particular data type, like this one number, right? Later in the next box here, you cannot put characters in, right? That's very important because they cannot mix data type into one column. Once you specify a column to be number, it has to be number all the way down. Right? The situation is like you're cooking in the kitchen. You always put salt in one pot, right? Sugar in another pot. You never mix the two together, would you? Otherwise, that would be disastrous. Database the same. They don't allow you mixing data type. Right? That's something you have to know. Well, that's basically the things we have to know. Apart from knowing the data type, we also need to know the field property. Field property will be the next lesson, things that we have to concentrate. And this is to set limit on database, so when we enter record, that can be ensured to a certain extent of accuracy, and we can also speed up database search. Right? We learn more about that next lesson, right? So we can skip it for the time being. Okay, what we have to do today, let's take a look at exercise 1 and 2. We will be working exercise 1 and 2 and learn about lab 1. In exercise 1 and exercise 2 there, exercise 1 will be a lesson, it will be a practice on how to set up a database, how to make a database file, how to make a table, how to make a column. That's exercise 1. After we make a table, just like we make a wardrobe, install it in our house, the next step you do will be you put the clothes in, right? In database the same. Once you get the tables ready, the columns ready, we can put the real stuff in. So exercise 2 is about inputting data. Okay, now long shot, let's practice a little bit. Let's go to all programs in Start menu. And then we go to Microsoft Office. Where's Office? Yeah, here. And then we choose Microsoft Access 2010. Now, the same as we buy a wardrobe in database, making a database is like making a wardrobe at home. Right? First of all, you have to specify the name of it. Well, database one's going to be fine. If you like it, you can keep it. But the second important thing is where you're going to be put the database file to. Just like when you buy the wardrobe, are you going to place it in your bedroom, your brother's bedroom, or you're going to put it in the dining room, or things like that. So location is important. We need the location because sometime later, after the practice, we have to upload this one as well, right? So let's go for the location here, and choose the file to appear on our desktop because you need to upload later, right? And the name, whatever the name is going to be okay. If you like database one, keep it, right? I'll call database one anyway because I'm lazy, right? But keep it there. But one thing you have to know, a lot of NC questions asked you from time to time is about the extension of database extension, right? For Microsoft Word, extension is DOCH. For database, a lot of people don't know, and if you're asked about it, all right, be mindful for that. That would be ACCDB, right? That's the extension. This database file, database 1, will now be placing on desktop, right? Okay. Just like you now have a wardrobe, you're going to place it in your brother's home, brother's room, for example, right? And then you click create, the database will be there, right? Let's click create. Take a look at my desktop. See, this is my database file, right? It will be there. Once you say create, it will create a file like that. And if you go over there, see, you already have a few hundred KB there. Just like you buy the wardrobe, even though that wardrobe is empty when you first bought it, it actually occupies some space. Database the same. It's an empty file, but it already has 320 KB, right? Database is like that. Now, then we have a wardrobe. The next step, what you do, you divide it into different sections according to different members you have in the company, in your home, right? Database the same. Once we have a table, once we have database file, we set tables in it to store the data. This way is the Excel way setting table. We don't use it, remember, because this is no good. It would be very confusing. Rather, when we want to create table in a database file, we will have to go to create. So let's click create web ribbon. And in the table section, we create it using data dictionary. They call it data table design. We'll learn about this term later in our database lecture. Right? This is table design. This one is showing you the data dictionary. Right? They are specifying what columns you're gonna be setting for your table. All right? So we are now making a table. What kind of table do we need to work on today? Let's take a look at exercise 1, shall we? Exercise 1. Ta-da! Here. Exercise 1. Let me make it a little small. Okay, this exercise 1 here is to make a table called whatever, right? We don't care about the name. We make the database anyway. But this database file has to have a table called employee2 and it has altogether 13 columns. Right now we have to make this 13 columns and put it here. So let's start working from the first one here for employee ID. Okay. So after you go to create and use table design to show data dictionary like that. Let's now start at the first box here called field names, right? Field names. Let's type employee ID together. This is the field name, this is the column name of the table, right? The first column name. And then we have to specify the type. Remember data type on page 60, right? What type can you choose? There are got a few we can choose. This one is called auto number. Auto number, because you want it to be the primary key later. That's why you put it auto, you use auto number for it. And then the description would be employee ID number. Well, that description is not meaningful to computer at all, but it's meaningful for us using it because later if we have many columns, set in the description reminds you what the columns really used for. So it's important for us, not for the computer. And then we have to go for the field properties here. That is something that we have to memorize. This is the first one. Well, whenever we use auto number, we have two choices. In MC question, we'll always be asked about it. The choices is you can set it as long integer or replication ID. The difference is only is for long integer, you have about 42 billion number to use. Once all the number used up, you cannot enter more data to that particular column, right? As the long integer implication. For replication ID, which means repeat. So if all numbers used up for that 42 billion number used up, it will start from 1 all over again. Right? That's what meant by replication ID. We have two choices. These two choices is not written. It's not written in our study guide. When you are taking your open book test, you can turn on computer, have the own notes. You have to go for the computer and check it out if you are asked about it. Right? So try to memorize it, right? Because that would be handy. You don't have to turn the computer every time for that. In examination, sometimes you have to write it out as well. Right? So this time we have to use long integer. Remember, long integer. And then we can click the box just below. Click the box just below employee ID, and then that column will be temporary saved. Right? Temporary saved. All right, let's go for the second one. It's very easy to get a column in actually. So the first one done. The second one is first name. So let's type first name. Field name is first name. And the data type is text, T-E-X-T, right? And the description is first name of employee, right? First name of employee. Now this one is text. What's the size of it, right? Is this 255? No. Let's take a look. The size is 50, alright? 50. So we have to change 255 to 50 in field properties. Apart from that, one more thing that we have to take a look at here is IME mode. Well, this is the only thing that, this is the thing actually, only people living in non-English speaking country need to concern, right? People living in UK, US, Australia, they need to concern because they don't have any other input method, but we have Chinese input method, right? So right now, this one is input method environment, right, IME. Now it's no control. It's not good to be like that because if we set it like that, the Chinese input method will pop up from time to time, right? We don't like that. That's why we have to change it from no control to off. You off it, but you don't disable it, remember. Because if you disable it, sometime later you need to input really Chinese. You'll be in big trouble, right? So we just off it instead of letting it go free, right? So we off it, remember, for text. That's the only thing we have to master, we have to kind of adjust a little bit, right? Because we're using a computer in a non-Chinese, on a non-English countries, right? IME mode set up. Once you finish setting that, you can click the box just below first name to template save it. Now, the second one is last name. Look, it's very similar to the first name, right? So we don't have to type things all over again. Instead, we can move the cursor to the left of first name, right-click it and copy it. Copy the first name. And then we go to the box just below first name, right-click and paste it. Then we have two first names, right? The second first name is actually last name. So we change the word first to last, right? Then we have this third column done right away. The same in description, we change first name of employee to last name of employee. Once you're done with that, you click the box just below last name, and then the third column will be saved on the template. Right. So copy first name and paste it as a new column, and then we change the name of the first name to last. Then we can have the second column done right away. Pretty handy, isn't it? Then, let's take a look at the fourth column. Wow, it's really quick. Fourth column. Fourth column is called married. You have to turn it to yes, no data type, right? So, let's go to the box below last name and type married. And then let's choose a data type there called yes, no. Yes, no. Description is married, YN. Now, this one, the same as auto number. There got some options we have to memorize. And there we get three options. True, false, yes, no, and or not, right? And this time we choose yes, no, but we have to also know that they have three choices. If you set yes, no, that's the format. That's the format, right? Memorize that because we'll ask you about it in open book from time to time. Right, this one is yes, no. Yes, no. Ta-da! Once you set it, you can click the box just below married to template save it. Okay, what's the next one? The next one is birthday, the fifth column, right? That would be daytime. We haven't worked on that before. Let's work on it. Birthday, and the data type we're going to be using would be daytime. Description is birth, day, DD, and MMMY, right? Now, this daytime is also quite troublesome. Same as yes, no, auto number. This time we have 7 options to memorize for daytime. General, long, medium, short, time and date. And the example is like that. And again, this is also very popularly asked options of question in MC and examination. So we have to memorize them. And today, which one we will be using? We have to use medium day. Medium day. Well, one more thing we have to work on for daytime is about IME, right? Same as text. It's now no control. This is no good because we don't want Chinese input method come out without control. So we will change no control to be off, right? We off it for the time being. We off it for the time being. So and the Chinese input method will not be out unless we call it out. Once we set up, we can click the box just below birthday to temporarily save this column. And then we have a few columns on tax here, right? All the way through. Some are 35, some is 15, some is 2, right? We can make use of the first name we just copy and modify a little bit, right? So we go to the box just below birthday there, right click and paste the first name there. We change this first name to address 1, right? And we change the first name of employee as the description there to address line 1. Then we change the final thing to change is the type, is the field size. We change it from 50 to 35. From 50 to 35. Okay? Once you're done with that, you click the box just below address 1 to template save it. And then you can move the cursor back to address 1 again. You see a dark arrow pointing to it, and you right click it and you choose copy. Copy this one. And then let's go to the box just below address 1. Right click, paste. You have another address 1. Then we go to the box below, right click, paste. We have another address 1, right? So we have all together now 3 address 1, right? The first address 1 is good. The second one actually had to change a little bit from address 1 as you see here to address 2, right? So let's change the second address 1 to address 2, and the description is address line 2, right? And the third address 1 is address 3, right? So we change the third address 1 to address 3, and the description will be address line 3, right? Address line 3. Then we click the box just below address 3 to temporarily save address 3 for this table. The next one we have to work on is district and region. They both tags with 15 characters long, right? So again, we right click and paste. We have another address 1. This one we have to change it to a district, right? To replace address 1 there. And address line 1, we replace it with district 2. For field size, we have to turn 35 to 15. That means 15, right? Because this one is shorter. Instead of having 35, we have 15 only for field size. Then we have to work on the one following it, region. Region, we stop at the box below district. Right click and paste. We have another address 1 as expected, and then we have to replace address 1 with region, R-E-G-I-O-N, and then we also have to replace address 1 line 1 description by region 2, region, R-E-G-I-O-N. The final thing we have to do here is field size. Instead of showing 35, we have to turn it to 15. That means 15. Turn it from 35 as the field size to 15. Done with that, we can click the box just below region to temporarily save it. Then we go to the second last. This is the second last column. The second last column is also text, but this one is only 2 letters long. 2 characters long. This is position, right? So we stop at the box below region and right click and we paste another address 1 there. This time we will replace the address 1 with position, and we will turn address line 1 to employee position. After that, we have to change the field size from 35 to 2, alright? Change it from 35 to 2, alright? To 2. Once you finish that, we click the box just below position to temporarily save it. Alright? Very quickly, we finish all the columns nearly, except one here. We were in the last column. This last column is salary. And we use currency, right? So let's type it together. We stay in the box below position and type salary. And after that, we have to choose a new data type we haven't touched on before called currency. That's for payment or money, math, information storage, right? Currency. Now, the description there is quite important. It's called monthly description. Monthly salary, sorry, monthly salary. Meaning that a month with shorter day, like 28 days in February, you get 31-day pay. That's what we meant by monthly salary. If you sometimes find it called annual salary, that means if you have a longer number of days, you have more pay. If you have a shorter number of days in a month, you have fewer pay, right? Or less pay, I mean. That would be annual salary. Well, the format is another way, is another place we have to be very careful. We have to memorize them as well, just like Dave. They got, again, 7 options that we have to memorize. General number, currency, euro, fixed, standard, percent, and scientific. And today we need to choose standard. Standard. Okay, that's it. And then we can also click the box just below salary to template save it. The final reminder for you, we don't have an example for you. However, we also will test you from time to time in MC or exam. Alright, let's click the data type and explore a little bit. That will be number. Alright, number. Let's choose number and have a look. Number there, they also have format. Those format will also be tested from time to time. For number, they have 8 for us to remember. 5. Remember on page 60, 5 is for very small number. Integer. Depending on how big the integer is, you can choose integer or long integer. Single, double, decimal. If you don't want to stress on significant value, we choose decimal. If you want to show 7 significant values or figures, single will be chosen. If we want more significant figures showing 15 of them, double will be chosen. Multiplication is repeat use of the number, right? So we have altogether 8 options. That's the one we don't have an example, but I have to show you because we will ask you from time to time. You can go to the left of number here and delete it. Press the delete button, right? Let go. Before we save the table, there's one more thing we have to do. Every table has a PK, right? Primary key. And for this table here, the PK will be employee ID. So let's click employee ID. And then we go to table tools here and choose primary key. Click this, right, option here. And then you're going to find out a yellow key standing next to employee ID. After that, let's save it by pressing Ctrl S or this button on the top left-hand corner. They will ask us for the name of the table. The table name, we call it employee 2. Employee 2, right? And OK. Once you press OK, on the left, you're going to find out table will have employee 2 appear. That means your table saved in the database. Right? If you see this little icon here, that means your table saved successfully. Now, even though you close the table, and if you want to go back to it, you can right click, go to design view, you'll see it again, right? You see it again, right? That's employee 2, right? Now let's take a look at the exercise. The exercise said you have to set it to employee 2, we did it, right? And we have to close the design window, and we did it, right? We close it. And then it said, oh no, what happened? One field missing. There should be a field called gender before married. Okay, we miss out one field, one column. Can we add it back? Yes, we do. It's very simple. You can double click employee 2 first. This is the data entry form. We don't need that. We go to home, work ribbon, and then we click design view button. This pencil and ruler button is design view. We click the pencil and ruler button. Then we go back to the data dictionary. This time we want to have one box on top of married, right? So let's click married, the field married, and we go to table tools design. There we have an option here called insert rows, alright? Click insert rows, ta-da! And then we have a box just before, right? Just before married. There we can add a new the missile field called gender. So let's add gender back. Gender, data type would be text, description would be gender, F, M. So we're going to be using big F to stand for female, big M to stand for male. The field size for that is really short. It's only 1 character long, 1. Well, because that's a text data type, remember, IMEMO should not be no control. We turn IMEMO from no control to be off, right? OFF, off. Remember, because that's a text. So we go to IMEMO and set no control to be off, right? 1 character long, right? That's basically it. Okay, what's the next thing to do? Oh no, we have something extra, not needed. Address 3 should be deleted. Okay, that's very simple. We can move the cursor next to address 3 with a dark arrow pointing it, right click it, and choose the second last option there called delete rows. So let's delete row for address 3 because that's actually redundant, right? We do not need that actually. And then, oh no, we have another mistake. What's that mistake this time? Position should be after salary. However, now position is before salary. If you want to move the location of a particular column, how can we do that? It's very simple. We first move the cursor to the column that we want to move. We click it once and it's highlighted. You see the yellow border around it, and we click it with the left mouse buttons once more, click it without releasing the button. Then we see the blue line, and also we see the semi-transparent rectangle. And then we drag it down, and the line will change from blue to dark. And then you release your left mouse button, the location of the column change accordingly. You do it again. You move your cursor next to the column you want to move. You click it once, highlight it. Click the second time, you still hold your mouse button, and then you see the blue line, you see the semi-transparent rectangle. You move it down. The blue line will change from blue to dark. You release the mouse button, and the location of the column change right away. Very simple, isn't it? Okay, that's it. How about saving a table as employee 2? Oh no, this is wrong because it's employee 2 now, and we want to make it employee. If you want to change the table name, we have to close this one first. Before closing it, you have to save it first. So let's save it by pressing Ctrl S, or we press the top left hand corner save button, and then we close the table first because we need the name change for the table. Well, it's very simple. We move to the table to icon, right click it, and then we have an option here. See, rename. Let's choose rename, and then we delete 2 after employee. Then we can change the table object from employee 2 to employee. Alright? Okay, that's basically exercise 1. Very simple, isn't it? We set up a database, put it in somewhere we know. We make a table, and this exercise also tells us that if we have committed some mistake, we miss out something, we have something extra, we have some wrong location thing, we have the table name wrongly named, it can actually be changed very easily afterwards. Right? That's the table. Right. Same as we set in a wardrobe, we have it fixed in one place, have a section divided readily, and then we have a section also divided into different areas. Then we can put in the real stuff, right? So exercise 2 now on the way. Exercise 2 is suggesting you how you can enter data. Well, today we will only be entering 2 records, only 2, no more than that. When we enter the first record, we'll use one way to get the data in. That would be data sheet view. So we have actually 2 ways to enter data. One is data sheet view. This one is really, really simple, but it has the problem of you losing where you are when you are inputting data. So you're going to experience that later when we input the first record. Another way for us to input data, which is actually an option, we can do that or we can leave it. That would be form. Form facilitating you, make you feel easy inputting it, but making a form requires some effort, right? And we'll also make a form today to input the second record. So let's do the first record input first. To input record is very simple. We double click the table. This area is actually the place where we can start inputting record. And today we'll be inputting a record for the first one, Changawa, right? But okay, we can click the second box. We start from the second box on. The first box you see new there, but we don't handle the first box because we set it auto number. It cannot be changed by you. So don't type anything there. Remember, if you type anything there, computer will give you the number they want. Right? You can't change it either, remember. But if you don't touch it, computer will start from 1, 2, 3 onwards, remember. So, okay, let's click the second box and then we type Kawa. Once you type K, you see there's a pencil there. And if you never touch box number 1, it will give you 1 right away. But if you disturb the computer, it will give you any number the computer likes. You have no control for it, right? Let it go. Remember that. That's why I don't touch it. I just start from the second box on. And then I type Kawa, right? Kawa. Once I finish typing that, just like you use Excel, you can tab to go to the next box, tab, right? And then you can still type Chan, right? Chan, and then tab. Gender, he is a man, so we use N to represent the gender. Is it Mary? Yes, so Mary section there, we have to take it. Now, that's what we meant by yes, no there type. Yes, no is like that, take or no take, right? So it's actually very accurate for you to get the information in because you just take or no take. You're not typing any word. There's no chance for you to wrongly type something. Birthday is 1986, September 3rd. However, never use the calendar here because it's 2015. It takes actually a very long time for you to go back to 1986, right? So don't use the calendar. It's actually wasting your time. Let's enter the day using the American, system method because this is American system, right? Starting from month, day, and a year. September will be 9/3/86, right? If you enter 9/3/86, computer knows that would be 03/86. So that would be the quickest, fastest way to get something in. Address 1 would be 6A. Let's type together. Block 2, right? That's the first address. And then we tab for the second one. Second address would be 23rd Wing Arm Street. Now look, when I go to address 2, what's missing? You see, that's the problem of data sheet. If you have many columns, you tab all the way there, some of the columns before will be hidden. And sooner or later, if you have a lot of things to type, you will easily lose which row you're in. And that's the problem of data sheet. Okay, 2, 3. Once you finish inputting that, you can tab. You see? If you tab the district, the first name of this row basically hidden. Right? That's the problem that I told you before for data sheet view. And then district would be Mongkok. Tab. And region will be Kowloon. Tab. Center will be 22,000. Tab. And position is EO. Okay, this is the last column. Once you tab it, look. This Chankawa will be automatically saved, auto-save. Right? You don't have to press save button. If you successfully tap all the way through to input something, this one saves automatically. I can turn off the table, open it again, it's there because it's auto-save. Remember, this one is auto-save, automatically save. Okay, let's close it. This is method number 1, using datasheet view to input data. Well, How can we improve data input accuracy? As mentioned, we use form. So before we can use form, let's make one first. The second method, form to input a record, right? We have to use form wizard. So let's go to create. And there we see form. Then we can turn the wizard to make a form wizard. Form wizard will show a table that you have in your database. And then we can select all fields here by clicking that double arrows, because we're gonna input for all those fields. And then we click next. The third three choices basically is census. We always go to justify, because that would make the columns spread out on a piece of paper, like the form we always see in our real life, right? That's why we choose justify as the arrangement layout. And then next. Now we always say this is a so-and-so form, because we don't want to make this one, alright, looks alike as the real data. We want to tell people that this one is a form. It is used to help this data table to get data in. So it's a helper, right? So we name it employee form explicitly, alright? And then finished. Ta-da! There is the form. Once you make a form, your form may look different from mine, because the resolution of different computer, your computer may be different from mine. So you may look different from mine. It's okay, right? Once you use justify, it's already fulfilling the requirement. Now, this is the form. And you're gonna find out we have forms here appealing to you. You can make a form successfully. This is the old Chengala we just entered, right? If you want to enter another record using form, you have to press this button here called next record. Let's click next record. And then you have a blank form, which is like you go into a particular club, you want to be a member, they give you a form to fill in, right? It's a form. Now, the second record that we want to input today is record number 7. Let's go for record number 7, Chengala, right? And again, we go from the second box on. That would be first name. Don't touch the first box, because this is to be controlled by the computer, right? So we go to first name in the form, and we type K. Once you press K, if you never mingle with this box, computer will give you 2 right away, because 1 being used already, so 2 will be assigned automatically. And you also see the pension, right? And case there. And let's type Carling and tab. Then we go, the next column will be Chan and tab. She is a female, so we have to use add to represent her. She is married already, so we take her married status. And she was born April 13, 1986. So we go to birthday there. We write 4/13/84. Do not use the calendar, because it takes ages for you to go to 84. Alright, and then you can have 13 APR 84 right away. The place she's living is flat G, 6th floor. And then we tab for the next one is 4, Waterloo Road. Alright, RB Road. And tab, that would be in Yau Ma Tei, alright? Yau Ma Tei. And tab, the next one is Kowloon. Now see, even I go to region here, I still know I'm inputting data for Chengala. That's the virtue, that's the good point for using form. For data sheet, sometimes we hiding the form when we input data, right, all the way down. But for form, we see what we are doing, right? And then salary for her will be 35,000, and her post is an AL. Once you finish inputting all the data for Chengala, you can click this next record button to have the data stored automatically, right? Once you click next record, record number 2 is stored automatically. We can close the form now. We double click employee. Look, it will be there, just like you input using data sheet. Yeah. You can also close the data table. Right. That's actually way number 2. All right. The second way you can input data using form. Right. Form. This is not a must. All right. This helps you to input data with much higher accuracy. That's why it's here. So today we stop here. Right. For database. Look at the database now. Before that would be 320 KB, right? About 300 KB. After you have 2 records input, we have already 500 at least. Well, some people may have 400. That doesn't matter. Right? The point is you have infinite databases like that. You put in something, they would increase your storage right away, right? So let's go to Moodle and upload it and complete our assignment today. And once the name check, you can go for the next class. Alright, let's go to BO2, and then we upload it here. Alright, class.1. Alright, so let's have the name check first. Steve R. Chen Hou Yi. You have the name check, you have the file upload, you can go for the next class right away. No need to let me finish off the name call, alright? Carrie Chan. Chen Guohou. It's about time to be forward, right? 陳子君、卓小儀、胡生、Lester、林依婷、李樂希、李子傑、李婉婷。梁仲文，梁愛儀，廖曉明，李英儀 ，Jeffrey， 黃卓玲，黃思維。跟考文、游雅榮、葉永立、余仲恩、潘國雄。Yes, okay.
Hãy subscribe cho kênh Ghiền Mì Gõ để không bỏ lỡ những video hấp dẫn.